we are looking for solutions today, and I think that if we want to look in any respect to the future, we need to look at the students, and we need to have them well prepared. We still need thousands of people who are well prepared in the cybersecurity area, and this is one of the possible solutions to come. Now, we will be talking about another important subject, which is building strength and capability in a rapidly changing cyber threat landscape. It is an important theme, and it is the theme of our next panel discussion. I would like to welcome the speakers on stage for talking and exploring how organizations can develop robust defense strategies to tackle different cyber threats. The discussion will focus on staying ahead of risks through adaptive and innovative approaches. By emphasizing the importance of agility, collaboration, and forward-thinking strategies, the panel will provide insights into securing the future of digital systems. So, I would like to welcome onto the stage Mr. Octavian STANCU, Head of Cybersecurity Services, GDC RAW, and Global Head of Cloud Threat Management, BDS Eviden. Diana GONTAR, C Lead for Risk Management from Visa. Liviu ARSENE, Director of Threat Research and Reporting from Crowdstrike. Silviu PUFAN, SecOps Solutions System Engineer, Fortinet. Please come onto the stage and take a seat. Thank you so much for being here with us. Also, Mrs. Andreea GRAFU, Sales Engineer from Trend Micro. And Tomasz, PIETRZYK, Systems Engineering Manager at Palo, Alto. Also, the moderator for this panel will be Bart, PRENEEL, Professor at KU Leuven from Belgium. Thank you so much all, and good luck.
So good afternoon. Thank you for staying till the very end. It's been a long day, but I'm still looking forward to an exciting panel. So myself, I have an academic background. I'm mainly a researcher in cybersecurity since more than 35 years. But I have worked for government, and I also have been quite active in startups, and I worked actually in industry also for a while. And I'm looking forward to this panel, which really discusses a crucial topic. We have an ever-changing cyber threat landscape, and the challenge for us is how to build strength and capabilities. And I want to start the panel by giving the panelists the opportunity to briefly, I said most 5 minutes, present their position, what they see as the important things to be done. And I would like to start with the first person on my left, and I hope on your right, and I hope that they will also introduce themselves briefly, because I guess I can do it better than I can. So please, Mr. Graf.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity for being here. So my name is Andreea GRAFU, Sales Engineer in Trend Micro. And I would like to take the opportunity to have a briefly statement about this topic. And I will start with what threat refers to. So anything that has potential to cause harm and allow unauthorized access to an informational system. And this could be a malicious actor, a cyber criminal, or inside threat, yeah? But why we should limit only to this? Shouldn't we also discuss about vulnerabilities and consequences? And what are these? Vulnerabilities are weaknesses that can be exploited by a threat. And this can be like misconfigurations or a user that may fall victim to a social engineer. And consequences, what are consequences? They are the impact of a successfully exploited vulnerability by a threat. And this could go in financial losses, reputation harm, and total disruption of the business operation. Why I'm bringing all this to you? Because their intersection means to find the cyber risk, and properly assessing and managing it for an organization means that they understand these elements and how to interact with them. And why am I saying? Because from my point of view, the biggest challenge is to minimize the gap between cyber risk management and business operations. For the moment, many organizations, the cyber risk technology are focused on detection and response. And dealing with threats, they emerge and responding to breaches in real time. On the other hand, the cyber risk management is still slow and mostly manually, unfortunately, still on spreadsheets and just periodic reports to the management, somehow disconnected from the business. And everything now happens in seconds, so understanding this lag of communication and response can leave organization in vulnerable. So it's time to integrate the cyber risk management into technology stack, and at the same piece with detection and response. This way, the cyber risk management will be aligned with the business goals and will allow the organization to be more predictive and proactive, rather than reactive and defensive. So we can think about the daily activities of this approach. This means to have daily cyber risk assessment, meetings with the operations, understanding what are the cyber risks at all levels, so not only from technical perspective, but also from business perspective, to prioritize the vulnerabilities and threats based on their impact over business. And using the real-time data from continuous monitoring. This is also, from my point of view, where the threat landscape should be well provided. And ongoing risk assessments or frequently cyber risk review meetings with all implied parties to assess the risk landscape necessary. Integrating this cyber risk into decision making. So if these proactive measures are not made daily or at least weekly, then all activities will be in a reactive mode. So this can let more and more emergency situation appear. And let's do the following analogy. Let's compare the cyber risk with cyber risk strategy with aviation. So the pilots need to prepare every day to do simulation, to do safety measures, to do pre-flight checklist, everything they have to do in case of an emergency. But they don't know, maybe in their activity they will face it only once. But they are ready and they are prepared to face it. So in the same way, the cybersecurity team should approach by preparing for the next breach. Assess everything and not wait for the event to happen. So from my point of view, I think it is time not to operate the cybersecurity in silos, just to go with detection and response functions separated by broader security risk management strategies, but going and integrate it into the technology and use it to detect and have an agile system that could protect against evolving threats. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now I want over to Mrs. Diana GONTAR from Visa.
Is it on? Yes. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Diana GONTAR from Visa. I am a risk lead for Central Eastern Europe, based in Poland. So I had a trip here, very pleasant. I believe, and I would like to strengthen Andrea's point, that building strength and capacity within the company needs to start from business, realizing that cybersecurity is not a cost, is not something what is really putting hinder on their business, so stop shower, that you need to push a compliance process through, and then you can go and do your business. But they are partners, cybersecurity department, risk departments are partners in doing business, and that security can be something that can differentiate the business among consumers. And I think this realization is far from being there in many different businesses. So for example, let's see about AI. So we are all talking today about how AI developments are a threat. ChatGPTs, language models, machine learnings used by threat actors to exploit us. But does business actually understand how this can hinder their growth? They do not. They do not understand PR backlashes, regulatory fines for data breaches, and most important, they do not understand that with social engineering and clients being extorted and scammed, this will hinder the trust in the society to the company, and then there is no business. So we have now phishing attacks, more and more complex. So Korea and Japan never had phishing before because their languages were too difficult to perform something like that. ChatGPT made it happen. So now Japanese companies have to teach their consumers to not click on links. Yeah, we are teaching that our consumers for 20 years, yeah. But so, okay, you are teaching your consumers to be more secure, to not click phishing emails. But you want to have a marketing campaign. So what? You are not selling from emails now because clients should not click. And business need to understand that with the more and more threats around AI, deepfakes, voice cloning, security is here to help them doing business in a secure way and do not lose their clients. And I think this is the most important selling point of, let's say, our operations to the decision makers, CEOs of the world.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So then I hand over to Mr. Octavian STANCU.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the invitation. So let's jump right in. How do we strengthen our cybersecurity capabilities, right, in the ever-changing environment that we have? So IT is changing, cybersecurity is changing even faster, we all know this, but it's changing also in an unpredictable way. So how do we strengthen? Well, to be honest, we are good in creating defenses. We're very good at that, but so does the attackers. So they are very good in bringing them down. We are focusing on protecting everything, including the supply chains and every element. Well, the attacker needs only one entry vector, and he's in. So I'll try not to bore you with theory. So I chosen a use case, a real life example. What do we do every day? So at Eviden, we are one of the top cybersecurity players out there. We're strong. We have 17 SOCs all over the world and customers from every industry. So yeah, my day at work is not boring. So let's take one example. A European company hit by ransomware, right? A quite common one, unfortunately. So they were hit by ransomware. They were not hit directly. They were hit via the supply chain, meaning one of their partners that had weakened security system got infected. The attacker went in, did lateral movement, jumped from their network to the company network. Then again, they tried lateral movement, again, elevation of rights, all the good stuff, right? Trying to be persistent, then looking for data to encrypt and detonate, meaning asking for ransomware. So what did we do? Well, we went in and kicked them out. That's simple. It sounds simple because the company had some critical strengths that were built along the years together with us. One was visibility. You cannot protect what you don't see. You cannot protect what you don't know. So we have a co-managed SOC for them. So we've built a good visibility for the security operations center, meaning all of the estate was in the tools were monitoring, and even more than that, we've built in threat intelligence that was feeding real time into that monitoring system. So we were able to catch the attacker early on. So the earliest we detect them, the higher chance of kicking them out we have. So this was one thing. Another thing was the company had a multi-layer defense approach. It was not one tool, meaning they had the zero trust framework applied. They had also OT networks in production. So they had these transformation projects 2 years back to segregate all the networks. And this is where it paid off, meaning the attacker got in the classical IT network, but they were not able to jump into the OT. So imagine the attacker going into OT and stopping production, hurting production and even human lives. So the multi-layered approach with the zero trust framework definitely paid off right now. And the last strength, the collaboration was very open, was very functional. With us as their security provider, also with the vendors and also with the other suppliers. And this is key. This led us to go in, kick the attacker out in a very efficient manner. So this is an example of how we can build strength not only through technology, but through partnership, visibility, and proactive defense. Let's not forget the tools, they're also important. Now, at the European level, NIS2 framework brings a lot of these concepts in, which is good. I'm not gonna bore you with NIS2, we can talk 2 days about it, but I would like to emphasize 2 elements, resilience and collaboration. So resilience needs to be there, risk management, incident reporting, threat detection, so on and so forth. And collaboration, a lot of pressure is put on the collaboration, because guess what, the attackers don't have any borders, right? So we need to create a common front and share our intelligence. And to prove this with example, we have at Eviden Cyderco. We think with this program we can really bring a value, meaning protecting the European Union, its institution and its people. So talking with the customer all year long, especially with CISOs, NIS2 is good. People start to understand it, people start to see the value, but the hard part is putting it in production, putting it into operations. I'm more of an operations guy. I'm the front lines every time. So how do you put NIS2 into operations? Because companies have different level of security maturity. Some of them are at the beginning, some of them are advanced. So especially the ones that are at the beginning, how do you put NIS2 into practice? So the good thing is that they're not alone. Vendors, partners, security service providers such as us are here to help. So again, going back to my use case, 3 things to remember. How can we strengthen visibility, multi-layer defense, and collaboration? Thank you.
Thank you very much, that's very clear. Then I want to hand over to the next speaker, Mr. Silviu PUFAN.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present some of the challenges that Fortinet saw in the cybersecurity environment and the solution. So I'm a systems engineer within Fortinet, and I'm basically in charge with the SecOps technologies. Now, indeed, the threat landscape is changing rapidly, and Fortinet is trying to support building strength and capability. And how do we do that? So let me first share with you some of the strategic approach of Fortinet. So we think that the key to solving those challenges is to have a holistic approach on security, and we need to have solutions that covers all the points that we're not able to see. So we have a huge portfolio with more than 50 products. And we believe that in order to cope with the current challenges, The solution is to have those products communicating one with each other. So the strategic approach within Fortinet is that every product that is being developed must be capable to interconnect with other product, within Fortinet or with other vendor. This is the strategic approach for everything that Fortinet is developing, to have this security fabric, we call it, and Gartner 2 years ago named it platformization. So in order to answer quickly to the threats, we need to have this interoperability between devices, and we need to automate those processes. So Fortinet is trying to build a big portfolio. As I mentioned, we have more than 50 products. And the insights that I'm going to share with you about key findings and solutions are based on the effort of a team within Fortinet named FortiGuard. So this is a team of cybersecurity experts, researchers, and data scientists that provides all the threat intel within Fortinet. And what we saw in the last quarter is that basically we saw this by analyzing 100 billions of events each day. We have 10 millions of devices all over the world because we have a customer range of 700,000 of customers and customers. So this is based on what we saw all over the world as challenges. And we saw that ransomware is still rising. We saw that instead of the approach of spray and pray, now the attackers are more have a more targeted approach. This is what we saw. And for the whole range of ransomware attacks, 40% of them are now targeting OT and critical systems, industrial systems. So we saw a rise on this part. And another important takeaway for the audience is that we saw that after vulnerabilities being published, no matter by whom, could be by operating system vendor, application vendor, in less than 5 days, 4 or 7 days, in less than 5 days, that vulnerability is being exploited by the cyber criminals. So it's critical. I know everybody talks about patching systems, but I just want to emphasize the fact that the attackers now are using AI and machine learning, generative AI, discriminative AI, but mainly generative AI, to create new tools to do everything much faster. So the time has shortened, and we need to act fast in regards to this. About exploiting vulnerabilities. So this would be, let's say, one of the main takeaways. And in terms of threat actors, according to MITRE, there are around 130 APT actors. But last quarter we saw the highest number of them being actively simultaneously. 40 of them are active. The most active ones are from Russia and China. And it seems that we need to invest more in reactive defense and proactive defense. The mindset should change because those actors have the capability to penetrate and to compromise any system. The mindset should be, I'm going to be compromised. And the problem is, how do we react and how can we isolate that attack and how we can minimize the effect of the attack. So it's not just about investing in tools that enforce security, protects us. We need to invest in reactive solutions, but also proactive solutions on both sides.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next speaker, Mr. Liviu ARSENE.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I appreciate everybody that is still in the room. I understand there's, I think this is the last session of the day, so bear with us. It's going to be, we're going to bear through this. First of all, thank you for having me. And as I was thinking about the introduction that I was going to make, I was trying to figure out a way to summarize everything in just as few words as possible that expresses the CrowdStrike view of the threat landscape and everything that we've seen out there in the industry. And in a single phrase, if I'm to summarize everything that we've seen in terms of adversary behavior, attack patterns, and everything, I would say that cross-domain attacks across identity, cloud, and endpoint have become the new mainstream. And I say this with all confidence because every year as a company, we produce 2 reports. One of them is the Global Threat Landscape Report. It comes out in January, where we talk about adversaries and the TTPs we've observed while investigating all sorts of incidents. And the second one is the Global Threat Hunting Report that comes out earlier, around August, where we talk about new adversary behavior, where we talk about incidents that we've investigated and so on. But the common thread across these 2 reports, at least the recent reports, was that we've seen adversaries no longer breaking into infrastructures, but logging into infrastructures. Which is kind of a weird shift if you think about it, because they no longer use malware, vulnerabilities, 0 days and whatnot so that they can break into an infrastructure. They're actually logging in using legitimate credentials, either from a valid employee or posing as an employee or even as an insider threat, as a malicious insider. So the use of valid credentials, the use of valid identities, logging into an infrastructure makes it so much more difficult to track what they're doing across the entire attack surface, whether you're talking about endpoint or cloud. Makes it a lot more difficult to investigate what kind of resources they access, and leaves absolutely no traces of their behavior. Because again, they're using systems, tools, and services that are legitimate, they're using an identity that is legitimate, and so on. So I dare you to think about this. If you're thinking about securing your infrastructure, you're thinking about endpoint security, you're thinking about cloud security, start with identity first, because that is how adversaries and bad guys go in. Whether through phishing emails where they attempt to collect or dupe actually an employee into giving away their credentials, or turning to credential brokers. We call them credential brokers. They're on the dark web all the time, and they transact credentials that they have either stolen or they have either purchased from other adversaries. But the number one commonality across every incident that we've investigated is identity. And if you take a look at the top 10 TTPs, if you map those across the MITRE matrix, the top 5, or at least 5 of the 10 TTPs are identity related. Whether you're talking about, again, phishing, whether you're talking about cross-domain lateral movement, Active Directory, curb roasting, or whatever, identity is their main focus. Again, they've realized it's absolutely inconspicuous, both on the endpoint and on the cloud. I mentioned that the way they get access to these credentials is either phishing or credential brokers, but there are instances, this is one that we've actually investigated recently, where adversaries that represent government organizations or governments across the world, like North Korea, for example, they actually apply to jobs in organizations. They want to get a job, a role into Fortune 500 companies or large organizations. Once they're in, again, the IT department provisions them with an IT-sanctioned equipment, with an IT-sanctioned device, allows them into their organization's Active Directory. They enroll them like a regular employee, and from then they can start doing what they're doing. We have such an incident. We've recently published a report, an investigation on this. The adversary I'm talking about we named it Famous Cholima. I didn't know what a Cholima was until we actually did the investigation. As a side note, a Cholima is essentially like a Pegasus, but it's part of the Chinese mythology, a winged horse that can fly about 500 kilometers very fast. So this is exactly how these kind of adversaries operate, insider threats. So they have high tempo operations where their main goal is to make sure that they get access into an infrastructure. They enroll as an employee, and from there they start to move forward with the goals and motivations that the North Korean government has in mind. And some of the adversaries that we've tracked, in this instance, are actually associated and affiliated with North Korean government. And the money that they've stolen, either cryptocurrency, data that they've managed to transact or whatnot, is actually being used to funnel North Korea, to fund North Korea's NWD program, WMD program, Weapons of Mass Destruction program. So everything in terms of their ballistic missile program and nuclear program and so on is being funded through these operations. So if I'm to leave you with just one thought, again, when you're thinking about security, when you're thinking about your security posture as a company, think about this: cross-domain breaches across identity, endpoint, and cloud. So it's not just the endpoint that you have to secure, it's also the cloud environment, and also, more importantly, the identities that you use to access critical infrastructure or even regular accounts. But we'll talk more about this in the panel, I suspect, so thank you.
Thank you, and last but not least, Mr. Tomasz from Palo Alto.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Actually, I'm second time in joining this conference, and I'm second time impressed by the size and the quality of the conference, so I really hope to be here third time. And actually, it's quite challenging to sit at the end of the line of speakers, because whatever I made a note was actually said already. So it's quite challenging, but maybe I can add something. Even my trip from Poland was mentioned before, so that's quite challenging moment. But many good things were said already about the threat landscape. What I can say is why is so quickly growing, why is so observable, let's say, and impacting us? Because we help this threat landscape to change, and it's actually because of how we do our job, how we do our business, how we expand our businesses. You know, our environments are rapidly changing, and this is also one of the factors why the threat landscape is rapidly changing. Just an analogy, I think about the security as a kind of domino game. So, you know this game. If you, especially when you start using domino for, you know, this kind of fun, you build the line, you push the first piece of domino, and then the line is collapsing. This is exactly, in my point of view, this is exactly the analogy of the security systems or security approach. Every place where we have to take care of should be properly taken care of. Yeah, if there is some weak place in this line, then maybe entire line will collapse. By the way, it's also give me some transition to the discussion about zero trust and this kind of approach. Zero trust itself, I hope we will have some time to discuss it later on, but in general, in order to avoid this full line collapsing, we need to build some barriers. Yeah, so you need to stop this line when it falls down at some point, right? And this can be done in many different things, especially when you start, you know, talking about what domino means to you. And it's not only about the segmentation of the network, where we are shining as a firewall vendor as well, but there are also multiple other aspects. It's about the user identity, it's about the application protection, it's about the privileges you give your people, etc. So this is one thing. Hopefully there will be enough time to expand it a bit later. The other thing I would like to mention is visibility. It was mentioned already a few times here. I fully agree. There is nothing worse than protecting something you don't know about, or it's almost impossible. So we need to have the visibility. Visibility usually means some nasty things from the user's perspective. We observe what they are doing. We observe what kind of data they transfer. Sometimes it can happen, it's the private conversation. We should avoid it, of course, but it can happen. But visibility is the base for every security. We cannot protect ourselves against something or protect the assets which we don't know about. And one topic which was mentioned, actually not now, but it was mentioned during the previous session, post-quantum computing. This is not a theory, I would say. I mean, we need to take care about the post-quantum technologies right now, because I guess you are using it even now. Those of you who are now watching the mobile phones instead of us. you are likely using some post-quantum algorithms and post-quantum encryption, which is a challenge for technologies like ours, like our competitors here. It's not so easy to decrypt and have the same visibility like in traditional TLS, SLS, SSL world. So be careful. I invite you, and I'm pretty open, my colleagues as well, to discuss the post-quantum effect and some challenges around it. And the final word from my side, at least in this entry round, the skills shortage. I believe no one mentioned it, but I guess even here in Romania, with so many great universities and so many great security programs, customers are struggling with the good skilled people who can take care about the security aspects. Actually, many breaches wouldn't happen if we will take care about the systems properly. It's not about some lack of features or lack of efficiency of the systems. It's just the proper maintaining. And for that, we need good people, or we need to invest more and more in automation, which is actually not or, I would say, but and, because I hope, and this is also my message at the end of this intro, is the good people, the really high-skilled people, they should focus on something which is really challenging, which is extraordinary, which is specific, which is really using or is really requiring some deep knowledge. Why they should do manual work again and again? We have some tools, we have some ways to help them avoid these manual tasks and just let them focus on threat hunting, let them focus on maintaining properly the security system to leverage all the features they have. So I hope we'll also talk about the skill shortage during this panel. Thank you.
Okay, nice. Thank you for the panelists all for, I think, giving interesting positions and also for staying within a lot of time. So thank you very much. I didn't have to do much to keep you in time. So maybe I want to put first a high-level question. Of course, nobody doubts we should do a threat intelligence collection. And by the way, maybe it was already announced, but also ENISA released a report, and as advisory group member of ENISA, so at the beginning of this month, ENISA released a very interesting report. And most of the threats in the top 10 have been mentioned today, except for disinformation, which is not really, I guess, the focus of the technical experts here. And this is probably more in the political corner. But I think we have already a good overview as well. It seems that there is convergence. But let me be a bit critical and say 20 years ago when I went to security conferences, it was all about defense. And now there is a lot of attention to threat monitoring. And of course, you have to know who's attacking you. But on the other hand, you're always too late because you just find out who's attacking you and then you prepare against those attacks. But then, of course, the attackers have new attacks. And so is it not the wrong approach? And that maybe, of course, you have to do both. But maybe let me ask you a question. What should the balance be? How much should a company invest on the one hand in threat intelligence and reaction, and then more proactive, trying to make defenses for future threats that you don't even know? I don't know who wants to take that on. But Silviu first, and then...
Okay.
Octavian.
Yeah. So... yeah, I think it's very useful to give you a brief, short example how to balance between those two, and I'm going to give a brief example of a cybersecurity incident. So there was a discussion between one of our partners and the final client, and they were discussing what should be the strategic approach. Because the client said, if I'm really a target, I stand no chance. Because the adversaries are so powerful, they have money, they have the tools, and if they combine it with social engineering, for sure, I will be compromised. So he said, I'm going to invest in automation. I'm going to do like fire drill exercise, and I'm going to invest technology and the people and procedures to restore the systems very quickly, perfectly. 7 months later, on a Friday at 6:30 p.m., they got compromised. They received, the IT department received a call. Okay, we've been attacked, encrypted, okay, ransomware. In 2 hours, everything was encrypted. But they invested in people, in technology, and they exercised everything. They started working on this, and next day, at 10:30, everything was up and running again. They had playbooks, scripting, everything automated. The backup was fully offline, not compromised. The procedures were offline. Everything was working again, and they were happy. our strategy worked. 2 hours later, the systems were down again. So what were they missing in their strategy? I mean, we automate everything, we respond, we recover very fast. They were not capable to understand what was happening. We talked about visibility. What was happening, where the attack came from, what was the weak link of the chain, what happened. So I think there's a need to change our mindset. Also on the reactive part, in order to be able to react, we need to invest. If we have, I don't know, give you an example, we have $10 to invest in cybersecurity. Okay, put $5 in enforcing security, in protecting, but invest the other in detecting what's happening inside the network, what the attackers are doing. And I'm just curious for the audience, how many of you have heard about deception technology? Decoys, lures, few. How many heard about honeypots? More, okay. So I think we need to invest more on this deception technology. Because you know what makes is the pyramid of pain for a hacker is not that painful for him if we counterattack by blocking a hash, blocking an IP, or blocking the URL. He will change it. But if we are able to identify the tools that the hacker is using, or if we are able to identify the tactics and the procedures they are using, the techniques that they are using, and we are blocking those techniques, then we are going to be more successful. So if we would invest more like in reactive technologies like deception, like creating a decoy, a trap for the attacker, he will connect to our systems, fake ones, and we will be able to understand and see what they are doing, what techniques, what tactics they are using. And this is going to give us a lot of information. I was reading a report from our colleagues from FortiGuard. They are complaining that the antiviruses installed on endpoints are deleting the files. No, we need to quarantine them because we have relevant info in there. So for the reactive deception, I think it's a technology that is missed by many, and I highly recommend it. It's a trap, and it's not just like here in the hotel, we have a room where you are not allowed here. It's a room, I don't know, on the second floor. And we want to catch the person who's stealing something. Oh, here we have in this room valuable money. But you know, that would be like a honeypot approach. The person, the stealer, would need to go around the hotel and find that room. Oh, and when he enters there, we raise an alarm. 0 false positive, and then we raise the alarm. With the decoy, the deception technologies, is like breadcrumbs. It's like on any endpoint, any computer, we are not installing tokens or agents, we are reconfiguring the workstations with shortcuts, like, you know, network file share, RDP, and like fake files. The attacker is going to connect to the production computer, but he's going to be redirected to some fake systems, and we are going to see what he's doing, what tactics, what tools they are using. So this is useful for the reactive, but we also need to invest in the proactive measures like tools that gives us insights of what's happening in telegrams, channels, in darknet, what services are exposed, what the hackers are seeing, what's happening. Thank you.
Mr. STANCU, want to add something to this?
Yes. My answer is short, but the explanation is long. So, agility. In cybersecurity, we need to be agile. That, from my perspective, means to be proactive intelligence and to be adaptable in frameworks. So, complicated words. Proactive in intelligence and adaptable in frameworks. And I'd like to put 2 use cases to explain this better. One story from 2021, which is ages ago in cybersecurity, and one story from this year, 2024. So 2021, end of November, when everybody was getting into the Christmas mood and searching for their Mariah Carey CDs, some kids in Minecraft decided it's cool to publish how to run remote code on someone else's server using a vulnerability in Java. It was called Log4j. And cool it was. So it rapidly spiraled up to a 0 day with classification of 10. That's 10 out of 10. It couldn't get more higher. But what's so different, because we see 0 days every day, what was the difference? Hundreds of millions of devices had this vulnerability. Hundreds of millions. The press even stated that the rover from the Mars may use application that is using Java that may have this vulnerability. So, okay, this vulnerability echoed all the way to Mars. So, proactive intelligence and adaptable framework. So you can imagine our customers, their first questions was, how is my estate? How am I vulnerable at this? Nobody knew. And there were 3 phases. Phase 1, which I call the race, 48 hours plus of non-sleep, I still remember. So the race was, the vulnerability was out there, the attackers were racing to weaponize it, we, the defenders, were racing to close the methods that they were hacking. And it was polymorph because we were doing something, they were doing something. So there was this game. And it was very at the beginning, the vendors themselves didn't even have signatures for this. So what do? Sorry guys, you throw in the firewalls first, right? You put in the firewalls and say, okay, let's see from where the attack is coming. This is intelligence. From where the attack is coming, and let's block those IPs. Those IPs rapidly turned into geolocations, and finally we got signatures from Fortinet and Palo Alto and other vendors, from the IPSs, then from the endpoints, right? And then, okay, on the SIEM, on the IOC, so on and so forth. So the second stage was, okay, now that we have it a bit under control, right? Because how do you prepare for an event like this? What framework do you use? And the answer is all of them. You throw everything, even the kitchen sink at it, right? So the second stage was, okay, now that it's a bit calmer, and one of my analysts said this, a senior security analyst said this, if I would infest your system from a Log4j vulnerable server, the first thing that I would do is to patch it and clean it, right? It's a bit counterintuitive. So I hack the system via a server that is vulnerable, and the first thing I do is patch it and clean it. Because I'm there, I'm persistent, I've cleaned it. When you scan for it, it's all fine, and I'm still there. So phase 2 was to see if we have persistent threats. Again, intelligence played here a very important role. And then kick the guys out. And the third phase was patching, which I think some companies still do today. Right, because they're still patching it. So moving forward 3 years, 2024. This is a completely different scenario. And again, here I put the emphasis on adaptable frameworks. In the first use case, we had it on proactive intelligence. Here we have on adaptable frameworks. There are events, like major events, global events. Let's take the Olympics that happened in this summer. Right, everybody was watching, the world was watching. What's particular about this is that we had a deadline, the games were starting no matter what. We were prepared or not, doesn't matter, the games were starting. So yeah, we had 4 years in advance to prepare for it. And that's what we did. That's why the games went well. There was no disturbance in the games. But how do you prepare? And in cybersecurity, 4 years is very long. How do you prepare 4 years in advance? What framework do you use? Again, you need to be adaptive. What solutions do you use? The vendors change the solution. 4 years, it's a lot. How do you build the teams that are going to operate in 4 years? What kind of attacks are going to be in 4 years, right? So adaptability here was a key. And then it's like when you finish your university, the last exam is what you do in those hours, but the work is all the years that you have studied, right? So same here. So these are some examples that, again, put accent on what is proactive intelligence and what is adaptable frameworks, and how companies can do this. Again, the message is that they're not alone. So I'm going to end by a quote. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
Thank you. So maybe also on follow up on the defensive side, we also already heard about zero trust. Is that one of the things to actually become more robust? Maybe start with Tomasz at the other end to say something about this. Is that a good approach to make a step forward there?
Yes, thank you for this question. It wasn't agreed that you will ask me this question, but thank you. So zero trust, actually, nice concept, I would say. And first of all, I would like to stress this is a concept, because I heard already some customers and also partners talking about zero trust as a solution. And I saw also some RFPs coming to the market where customers are looking for zero trust solution, which is actually not proper, because zero trust is more like a philosophy than the solution. And by the way, I need to stress it, is the awful name. Let's think about the CISO or the security director of the company standing in front of the employees saying, we will implement zero trust and we don't trust you. Usually there is a quite of revolution started and resistance. So yeah, it's awful name, but it really explains what we are looking for. Zero trust means we don't really trust what we see, which is strange, which is weird, but this is what we should expect. Someone can pretend to be. Something can be changed by someone unauthorized, and we need to control it. So I would rather stress the fact that zero trust means we keep controlling. It's not necessary zero trust at the very beginning. And also the second thing I would like to stress about the zero trust is the concept, first of all. Second, is not the solution. And third, it's not about the segmentation only. Of course, me, Palo Alto Networks representative, that would be maybe the easiest discussion if we focus on infrastructure. But the zero trust deployment should take into account also users, applications, and infrastructure somewhere else, somewhere as well. Because only with this approach, strategic approach, you can actually improve the security posture of your organization, which is not easy. It's more like a march than the quick journey. And but if you keep it as a concept, if you keep it as a strategy for your company, everything else can be somehow related to it. If you think about the product solutions, you can think about the choice or choosing the products from that perspective. Would this product or this product fit my concept of zero trust? Can this product be integrated into zero trust methodology or framework, etc.? So it actually defines your security network for years, maybe. And but I don't see any, other framework, other concept which is so compelling and so popular nowadays. You heard about, some direct regulations even coming about zero trust in some countries. So it's worth to study, definitely. Thank you.
Okay, maybe we also heard about collaboration, and it seems that it makes us go farther. It's very good. And I think an argument I haven't heard is also the bad guys actually collaborate. I think in the previous panels it was that they don't. I think they do. There is underground ecosystems. So now we also get this tsunami of regulation. I guess we all know about it. NIS2 has been mentioned, but also DORA and GDPR, which are older, that actually forces us to collaborate, quote unquote, by reporting everything to the government. And collaboration and sharing is good in a relation of trust, but do you really want to share all your sensitive data with your government? And I'll be very frank, I'll give an example. The Belgian telco operator, Belgacom at the time, was hacked by the UK government in the Operation Socialist. So in fact, European governments hack each other. And then we come with regulation that forces us to give our vulnerabilities to governments that may actually start hacking our consumers in other countries. So that's maybe a good point to discuss. So is collaboration or is this reporting of these incidents only positive, or do we have to have restrictions on what we can share, or how does it work in practice? Yes. Mr. GONTAR, yes.
I think this is a dilemma everybody has always from the start, how much I can tell others about the attack, the vector, my losses, what was done to my business, my systems, my operations. And of course, don't get me wrong, I am a fan of European Union, and I believe that getting new regulation in place is actually helping us to upgrade the weaker, let's say, points of the ecosystem of the change. Companies who are not thinking about cybersecurity, they are forced to think about them because of the regulation, and it makes the whole ecosystem more secure. Sharing the data is always sensitive. I am generally thinking it will be a good thing as long as governments can ensure us, a private sector, that those data are safe. And this is a longer conversation with other, let's say, public. But you mentioned, yes, threat actors are collaborating, so we need this data sharing, if we like this or not. Because we need to know what is happening in different markets, different businesses, and so on. The same, let's say, we see this the same way in the fraud, payment fraud ecosystem. You know, in Visa, we need to protect ourselves as the cybersecurity to our business. So we invest a lot in that. We invest a lot in the threat intelligence. We see a lot as a big international company, but we need to protect also the payments, the money. So we see that this intelligence, both on the fraud side but on the cyber side, interlinks and help us protect not ourselves, but also the society, the consumers, the card payments. So that's why I think either done, sometimes the regulation are in good faith, they need always to be taken into consideration what the private sector can and cannot say. And yeah, fraudsters and threat actors are well organized. I can tell you, I am really impressed how Dark Fox is organized. I think this is the most secure marketplace I've seen. Three-factor authentication, come on, I just love that in payments. The question is if we can be so secure as the threat actors, and because they implemented zero trust policy years ago.
Anybody else wants to add to this?
Yes, maybe I'll combine the two statements. So it's like I do with my bank. I trust them, but I like to check to maintain that trust. Trust but verify, right?
Okay, so we also heard about AI, and the AI was introduced more as a weapon for attackers. Of course, AI is also a weapon for defenders to defend faster. So are we going to end up better off or worse off? Because my concern is, to be honest, that we're going to get the war of the AIs, and we have our defense system actually defending against AI. And in the end, we don't understand anymore what attackers and defenders are doing. And as humans, we become bystanders in the war. We can only hope we will win. But our experience is not so good in cyber war. It seems that the attackers have an advantage. So from that perspective, I would say I'm pessimistic and AI will make things worse. But maybe there is optimists in the panel who think that actually AI will make their products more secure or will make a society more secure. Arsene?
Yeah, I'll grab this one. So the way I look at AI is not a good versus evil kind of thing. I look at AI as more as a tool versus tool. So I would dare say that AI is not as intelligent as we want to believe it is. It's more of a way of automating or improving the speed at which we operate. Let me give an example. It's awesome when you apply AI in certain use cases. For example, you can apply AI to make sense of a large amount of data. You can apply AI to spot abnormal behavior. For example, let's take a look at identity, right? So if you see abnormal behavior coming from one of your employees logging in at suspicious hours to systems that they've never logged into, then maybe that's a pattern that an AI system, an AI machine, a machine learning model will be able to spot and maybe burn that identity. I mentioned earlier in the intro that identity is the #1 attack vector. If you're able to burn an identity that an adversary is using to log into your infrastructure, AI can help you do that, and automation can help you do that. Second thing, I would dare say that AI we're talking about skill shortage. Yeah, so that's a very good place where AI can help at least address some of those challenges. Imagine having an AI assistant that is designed to help a junior SOC analyst or a level 1 SOC analyst work faster, better, get access to information easier than he normally could. If you can save 2 hours out of 8 for a level 1 SOC analyst, I'd say that is a good use of AI and automation. If you can help a SOC analyst understand the infrastructure in which he's supposed to operate and make that 75% faster than he normally would by just giving him access to an AI agent that lets him know, hey, these are the resources that you're looking for. This is the systems that you should be protecting. This is the data that you should be looking for. I'd say that AI agent is empowering a security solution and an analyst. To the other end, at the other end of the spectrum, AI can also be used again, like you mentioned, for bad reasons, for bad purposes. It can be used to create spear phishing emails at a speed and scale that we've never seen before, make that content seem extremely legitimate, impossible to distinguish from fraudulent content. So I would say it's a matter of where you apply your AI tool to defend against something that attackers are throwing at you with another AI tool.
So I hear some optimism, but still the attackers also have these AI tools, and they also will be faster at you. So I'm not sure you actually will gain, right? You seem to say, oh, I gain because my analyst is faster, but the attacker will also be faster. The question is, who will win?
I can take the pessimistic view.
That's fine.
If you like, because I like the positive one, but I also like the pessimistic one. So AI fighting AI, hypothetically, it's a resource war, a money war, and AI is consuming a lot of electricity and power. So basically, at the end, it's a resource battle. Yeah, we are humans are excellent at weaponizing things. I'm sure we're going to do a good job with AI. But on the same manner, I do agree with you. Right.
I think the society is not ready for AI, generally, and for social engineering with using AI, and this will be a problem, because we have everything digitalized. Banking, government, shopping, yeah, everything is in the phone. And clients, consumers, people are so used to just click and get everything. They are not thinking that this is a phishing, this is a deepfake, this is a voice cloning. And then when they are scammed, they are surprised, and they are blaming you as a company that you didn't protect them. This can have a very serious implication for global business if the clients just lose trust in what you are doing.
This is quite interesting to observe how AI actually took over the topics in conferences. I remember, actually I mentioned I was here a few years ago. It was, I think, 3 years ago. And I don't believe there was any single session which was focused on AI at the time. So what happened in these 3 years? Actually, ChatGPT opened the gate, and people started to talk about AI. While AI itself, and precisely machine learning, deep learning, was used by security industry for years already. And that was quite normal tool for us, right? We were improving our detection capabilities by using AI simply because of all these advantages which were mentioned here. So it is new because we suddenly open it to everyone. And honestly, I would focus more on the current usage of AI, which is, in my opinion, in many places is completely not controlled. So people are actually using AI because it's easy, because it's available, because it makes some positive impact on their jobs, and this is quite natural move, but from the security perspective, we don't really control it. So I'm not even talking about the compromises. I'm not talking about breaches using, you know, well-designed or specifically designed, crafted prompt engineering. I'm talking about simple data leakages, yeah, because we don't control what people are actually exchanging with tools like ChatGPT, and no one knows where this data is then transferred, what is used for, etc. If you are consumers, you are likely very often nowadays, you are likely very often getting some updates to your consumer licenses where different companies are putting some quotes like, okay, we are entitled to use your data for teaching our systems. Be careful because your data is actually quite valuable. And by the way, a bit controversial statement to the previous discussion about the threat intel exchange. If we think about the proper usage of AI or the proper AI algorithms, they need to be trained on the well-attributed data. This is becoming a gold nowadays, right? Many companies will not even progress because they cannot access the proper data. And data is becoming the money nowadays. So I'm a bit skeptic. Okay, we are all working in the security area for years likely, and we appreciate the meaning of data exchange, IOCs exchange, etc. This is still very valuable information, but I'm afraid, I'm a bit pessimistic from my nature, I'm really afraid that companies will limit access to their data because it's actually becoming the asset which makes a big competition advantages.
Okay, we're almost out of time, but I still want to give the closing word to Mrs.
No,
GRAFU.
it was just to emphasize with what Tomasz already mentioned, that the AI was already used in use for security for several years, just now that we are aware of using it and being popular saying AI, it is used for security. But this also opened a new way of thinking and thinking to secure the AI. So now it is another open discussion on how to secure the AI and to prevent the customers or the users or everyone using AI technology in being malformed information or provide other data. So we will see on the future how it is, if it is good for the security part or for the bad guys.
I don't believe we decide. I believe business decides. Yeah, yeah. We will simply follow, and yeah, we need to do our best.
For sure, for sure. When I'm saying we, I'm referring including the business, of course. Thanks.
But of course, I mean, at least in Europe, we can now see that some service providers cannot use your data because of GDPR, at least in the EU. And of course, in the threat of the US companies is that, well, then your systems will be less performant. So I think it ends up with a political debate. But anyway, I think we hear some optimists and pessimists. I'm very glad that I could finally have the panel members disagree on something. But I think we can all agree it was a very interesting panel with lots of stories, I think interesting perspectives. So, and I think the main message I want to give is optimism is a moral duty. We're in a very challenging environment, but with such good people helping us to defend us, I think we have to be optimistic. So thank you. Join me in thanking all my panel members for a great panel. Thank you very much.